Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back. I'm Jenna, your host. Today, we're going to discuss the power of the pivot and what does that mean for your life. So, for some of you, you've probably gone through some changes in your life that were a complete turnaround. And that's exactly what a pivot indicates, is that there's some sort of change or turn of direction in your life. And it always makes me think of that Friends episode where Ross and the others were moving a couch up the stairs and he kept yelling, "Pivot! Pivot," right? Spirit's trying to get you to turn some things around in your life. So, where in your life have you already had some change in direction? Maybe where do you still need some change in direction? So, that's what we're going to discuss today. So, what does it mean to pivot in your life? In the dynamic landscape of life, the ability to pivot, to change directions or strategy when circumstances demand it. It's invaluable. Do overs provide a unique opportunity to execute these pivotal changes. Have you had those in your life? I definitely have. So many I've probably lost count at this point. I remember probably, gosh, has it been that long? I think it has been that long. Okay, so for many, many years, I was a stay at home mom. That was my full time gig, right? I was raising my four boys, and life was pretty good. Things were great. Then life threw a curveball. I went through a really traumatic divorce, lost custody of my kids because I was going through some mental health and some health issues. I wasn't financially stable. So my whole world was turned upside down. That was a big pivotal moment in my life. I was all of 23 years old. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. I had no idea what the future held. I didn't know where I was going to go. I was literally homeless for a little while. And so I was, couch hopping from friends' houses and, finally ended up finding a couple of friends that I stayed with for a while, like months and months, and then, started to kind of get my life back on track. Finally got a job, stayed there for a while, moved in with some other friends from work, and, life just kept changing. So I've learned over my lifetime to be open to change. A lot of people like fear change or they don't like change. I'm not great if it's massive changes that I'm unprepared for that really like turn my world upside down. Not so great with those. However, I don't mind change. I used to cut and color my hair all the time, so I've had like every color of the rainbow hair you can think of when I was doing hair full time. It's like change my appearance, makeup I wear, maybe I don't wear any makeup at all, things like that. So change doesn't necessarily scare me. It's just how drastic of a change is it going to be? That was a pretty drastic change in my life, and it took me a really long time to overcome those challenges that I was facing. But ultimately, that was part of my story, right? It's part of my testimony, it's part of what made me me today. So, while, yeah, I would like to kind of change it because it was a really painful chapter in my life, then there's part of me that's like, it had to happen. So even though it was painful, I needed that pivotal point in my life to happen. So that was one of the things in my life that really changed. Another one was I had to figure out, like, I couldn't just work at a shitty fast food restaurant for the rest of my life. That wasn't going to pay my bills. So I had to figure out, okay, I need like an actual career path. So another pivotal point was I got out of a really shitty domestic violence situation relationship and decided I was going to go to cosmetology school. And that was a pivotal point in my life. I loved doing hair. It was something that I was really good at. It was something that I really enjoyed. I had a lot of regular customers that I absolutely loved and adored. And they made it worth getting out of bed and going to work in the morning. Did I make a ton of money? No. Fuck no, I didn't make a ton of money. Unfortunately, people that get into like hair, unless you're doing like celebrity hair and makeup, there's not a ton of money to be had. The price of your products is absolutely outrageous. Booth rent, things like that can be really expensive. So I stuck with it for like, I want to say like 6 or 8 years. I did hair and I loved it. And then I left due to a lot of injuries. I got diagnosed with a chronic illness. I tore my rotator cuff in my shoulder. I have bulging discs in my back, yada, yada. I also was feeling energetically at this time, I was feeling a pull that I needed a change in my life, but I was scared. That was a change that I was like, but I worked so hard to get here. Why do things have to change? Again, they had to change to get me on the trajectory to get me to today, right? So those things had to change. So another pivotal moment. I remember sitting down with my best friend at the time, Jason, He was our manager at the salon at the time, and we were roommates for years. And I remember sitting down with him. We got secret shopped. And so we had like a random customer come into the salon, and they were there for a service, whatever the service was, haircut, wax, whatever. And I want to say I was the only person there, but there might have been another stylist there at the time. Anyways, I was the one who ended up servicing this customer, and our owners wanted us to get like a 95 or better on a secret shop. Well, I got like a 90, it's not like it was the end of the world. So he sets me down and he tells me, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I'm not mad at you. I think you did a great job, but our owners would want you to have a 95 or better for customer service. Well, I can't be a fake person. So, like, we had this whole spiel that we had to give our customers when they walked in the door. Hi, welcome to blah, 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 blah. We'll be with you in a minute, whatever, greet them, all that stuff. I can't be fake. People who know me in real life, it's like, I just can't. I'm not going to hide it if I'm having a bad day. I'm not going to fake it if I don't fucking like you. Like, I am who I am, take it or leave it. People either love me or hate me, and I don't give two fucks either way. So, I told him, I actually think I broke down crying, if I remember right. I think I kind of got teary-eyed and started tearing up and crying a little bit. And I said, I'm not upset about this. I said, energetically, I have been feeling for a while now that I'm supposed to leave doing hair. And I said, I'm fucking terrified. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know where I'm going to end up, how I'm going to make any fucking money. But I know that spirit has my back, and I know when the time is right, things will align, and whatever it is going to present itself. I knew that in my core. I knew that. But he was like, I don't want you to leave. Like, this is nothing that says you have to like resign or anything. He's all, it's just we can always do better. And I said, I understand that. And it's not that I want to leave, but I feel like spirit is pushing me to leave. And he was like, well, I hope you don't, but I know that you'll be doing whatever you're supposed to be doing and you'll land on your feet. I know you will. So that was another huge pivotal moment in my life. So the long and the short of it is, one of my kiddos came to live with me full time. He had been living with his dad, didn't want to anymore. He was having issues at home. And so my ex-husband called me one night and he said, one of the kids wants to come live with you. Is that something that you're able to do right now? And I was like, I got to make some adjustments in my schedule, but yes. And so we did. We went and packed up all of his stuff. We moved him in that weekend, and that totally changed my world. So then I was juggling with working nights so I could be home with him, doing like online homeschooling with him during the day and working at night. And I just couldn't juggle both. I was like, I can either be really, really good at being a mom, and my kid needs me right now, or I can be really, really good at my career, and my family will suffer. So again, another turning point. What do you choose? So I chose to leave my career that I had worked so fucking hard to achieve. It took me 3 times to pass state board. I had a panic attack the first time. My stand broke for my mannequin the third time. And then I missed like a critical on how to hold my fingers with a razor cut for a haircut. And I don't know why. I just couldn't figure it out. My brain stress, worry, all those things. But it took me 3 tries to finally get it. And so it was a super, super difficult thing for me to go, I have to give this up at least right now. I will tell you that my license is still active and I will always keep it active no matter how old I get, because it took me so long and so much work and effort to achieve that goal that I'm not throwing that away no matter what. So even though I don't do hair in a salon anymore, my license is still active and I will always keep it that way. So that was a third pivotal moment at that point in my life, right? I had to make a really hard decision, give up something I love that pays my bills, or sacrifice something that my child needs. My kids will always come first. I will literally eat, ramen noodles for dinner every day of the week to give my kids what they need, flat out. I will go without every single time to make sure my kids have what they need. And I've always been that way. I didn't start having kids so other people could raise them. I didn't start having kids to never be part of their life. And I missed plenty of stuff because of my divorce and everything, only having visitation for years. So I had to make some really drastic changes in my life for things to start going in alignment. So fast forward. So I leave my job. I'm at home full time and I'm losing my fucking mind. I'm going batshit crazy because it's like, what do I do with myself? I'm a workaholic. You guys will see I post a ton of fucking videos. Even when I say I'm taking a break. Yeah, I take a break. I really do. But then I'm like stir crazy on board. It's like I need something to do, something to occupy my time. And then like the juices start flowing and I get that creativity, that spark back. And it's like, okay, now I'm ready to put up content again. Now I'm ready to, go in a different direction or try new things or expand my horizons, whatever. But it takes some time to like, restructure, recenter, get all your fucking ducks in a row and figure out what in the fuck you're doing with yourself. And so that's happened to me so many times I've lost count. So the last big pivotal moment that I've had happened in 2020, right? We had COVID, everything shut down, a lot of people lost their jobs. And so everybody was kind of in that pivotal moment of, what do we do? It's like, what can you do? That was another turning point. I also lost my mom through tragedy in 2020. No, she did not pass of COVID. She died of natural causes. She passed of a heart attack, unfortunately. So that was a turning point for me. That's what I call my catalyst for my gifts expanding. I've always been psychic. I've always been a medium. I didn't know I was a medium. I just thought I was psychic. I didn't really understand what all that meant for many, many years. But as I've grown, as I've matured, I've learned a lot of these things through trial and error, through experience, through seminars, through, gifted teachers, things like that, and reading a lot of books on the subject. What I didn't realize was that my greatest gift would come out of one of my greatest tragedies. And so that was another pivotal turning point in my life that really kind of made me step out of a comfort zone. I'm a wallflower. I'm super fucking shy. You're like, yeah, bullshit. She ain't shy. She does all these things. I can't see you through the other side of this screen because I'll tell you what, if I could see a mass of people out in front of me, whew, I think my legs would probably give out and I'd probably faint from fear. That's something that I had to work through, right? I had to find some confidence to be able to speak up, to be able to say what I needed to say. I've wrote 2 books. One was on my spiritual awakening. The other one was a romance book just for shits and giggles because I wanted to. I've always been a writer, so that was another turning point, another pivotal moment. And that came out of the grief and loss of losing my mom. Are we starting to see a picture here that all of these twists and turns, the detours, the things that we think are mistakes, the things that we fear, right, ultimately are leading us down a path of really where we're supposed to be in life? So we shouldn't fear the change. We should embrace the change and we should go with the flow. The question is, are we? Are we hindering our growth and our progress forward, or are we embracing where we really want to be in life? Because I feel like a lot of times we fear what will make us the happiest. Maybe it's romance. Maybe it's a new job. Maybe there's a plane flying when you're trying to record. Whatever it happens to be, know that all of these distractions, detours, changes, or pivotal moments are truly meant to align you with where you're supposed to be in life. Maybe it's your destiny. Maybe it's your calling. Maybe there's something that you've feared your whole life, but it's where spirit really wants you to be. So, are you willing to make those pivotal moments something great? Or are you too fearful and you sit back and you go, gosh, I wish I would have done that? I will tell you, with all of the spirits that I've ever channeled, there's not one that's ever come through that says, I really wish that I wouldn't have done this and it was a great experience for me. Never. I've never had that happen. There's lots of people that you hear about their deathbed confessionals that they talk about all the regrets that they have. They wish they would have apologized. They wish they would have fixed things with the loved one. They wish that they would have told a certain someone that they had feelings for them, things like that. They wish they would have traveled the world. That, all those things. Never once do they come up and say, gosh, I'm really, really so mad at myself that I fulfilled my calling. Never, right? That's not a thing. So there's so many things in our life that could be holding us back or hindering our progress forward. We're at the point where we've got to kind of shit or get off the pot, right? We've got to figure out, is this worth the investment to continue, or do we need to pivot and go in a new direction? So that's what we're going to discuss today, is what do we need to do to kind of go in that new direction? Can you pivot? So what is a pivot point or a pivotal moment in your life? Simply put, pivot means being willing to change course when faced with new information or circumstances. How many times in your own life have you been faced with that? Maybe you got laid off at a job. Maybe you weren't expecting that. Maybe you spent all of your savings thinking, I can always make more money, and all of a sudden you lose the very means that you had, the money that you had coming in. Things happen for a reason. Anytime in my life I've ever quit or lost a job, I have always found one that was better than the one that I left. Always. It's never the opposite. It's like Spirit's going to bring you to a level, and then you're going to achieve something and you're going to hit another level. And they're going to continue to do that. The more challenges that you face, the more things that you try, the more things that you learn. It's like in school, right? We have all of these different grade levels. Think of them as milestones or stairs on a staircase. So let's say at first grade, right? You had to learn the alphabet, you had to learn numbers, you had to learn to sound out little tiny words, things like that, right? We're learning these things. We're not at college level yet. We haven't made it there yet. We've got a lot of little steps to get there. So Spirit's trying to show you that little change still is meaningful, and that it's really important that if something's not working, that it's okay to change course and direction. They're showing me a sailboat in my mind. I love how I'm channeling when I'm trying to do a podcast. It's funny how Spirit works. So they're showing me like a sailboat, and it's on the water. And when a gust of wind hits it, maybe it throws it off course a little bit. And maybe you've got to steer or overcorrect, or you've got to correct course a little bit, maybe through navigation, maybe through your equipment, maybe the sails have to deflate or inflate or change direction. But something has got to change. You've got to pivot direction, course, in order to actually stay where you want to be or go to a different direction. So it's an important challenge sometimes that arises, that we've got to make some changes within us, within our lives, circumstances, relationships, jobs, etc., down the line. What needs to change to get you back on course? If you're listening to your intuition, I feel like it's not that hard to figure out, right? What are your passions? What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning? Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's something that you never in a million years thought that you would be doing. Ding, 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 we have a winner. In a million years, I never in my lifetime would have thought that I would be, in front of people's eyes and people knowing all this information about me, people seeing who I truly am at my core, people watching me online, like that baffles my mind still to this day. Like when I look up my statistics of how many people have viewed my profile and viewed my videos and things like that, I sit there and I'm just like, that's so crazy to me that people all across the globe have been able to see me in some way, shape, or form. People I've never met, people I don't know their names, I know nothing about them, have seen me and watched me. So there's this impact that we tend to have when we're in the public eye, so to speak. And so I'm a person who wants to use that for good. I never want to use it for any sort of negative stuff. I want to bring positive change into your life. So if you watch the podcast, if you watch any of my videos, whether it's a tarot reading or whatever, know that that's the impact I'm trying to leave as positive change in your life, a positive pivot. So I think that's what I'm going to call this episode, the power of the pivot and a positive pivot. We'll call it something to do with a pivot. So I feel like Spirit is trying to tell all of us that we are reaching a point of no return, that we're going to have to make some hard decisions on what we leave behind and what we want going forward. Are there some things that you can think of right now that are small changes that maybe will impact you in a positive way going forward? Maybe you impact other people. Maybe you do charity work. Maybe you do something that's a nonprofit. Maybe you're an educator in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're just the walking ball of fucking sunshine at the coffee shop in the morning and everybody loves to see you because you put a smile on their face. Maybe you make people laugh. Whatever it happens to be a positive impact for change, because I feel like the world could use more and more of that all of the time. The other thing I want to discuss is a canon event. Now, if you watch TikTok, you would have seen that for the last probably 6 months or so. It was all over the place. That's their canon event. And I'm like, That's the stupidest way to put that. But okay, so Urban Dictionary says that a canon event in the context of fan culture and social media is an event that is widely recognized as a significant moment within a story or narrative, often shaping the characters and their development. So, like, I'm a writer. So, to me, that's like maybe something happened to your character that it was a turning point for them, right? And maybe it was like tragic loss. Maybe it was something where, I don't know, they came into a buttload of money or something crazy like that. Whatever it happens to be, I feel like we have some of these in our life, right? It's something that you can remember your life, what happened before that moment. And it was like a defining moment going forward, right? So something big changed. For me, it was losing my mom. So why do I keep talking about that? Well, June is the month that she passed away. So June is a difficult month for me on a human level. And so that's part of why I was taking some time off is to deal with my feelings. I have certain days where I'm totally fine. I'm completely functional and like nothing's bothering me. And then something stupid will happen. Like I'll see a hummingbird and I start bawling because a hummingbird reminds me of my mom. Stupid things like that, right? So I can choose to sit in my feelings and be sad or angry or depressed. That changes nothing. None of that's going to bring her back. I know she's in a better place. So I legitimately said to myself the other day, I am refusing to wallow in self pity and sadness, that it is time to move forward. She doesn't want me to be sad and lonely. And I know she's proud of me. I know she sees all the accomplishments that I'm doing. And I know that she would want me to be positive and to spread that positivity. But on a human level, I'm still just a girl who misses her mom. So I'm still struggling with grief just because I'm human. So even though I'm a medium, even though I can talk to people on the other side, we don't channel our own loved ones. It's just not something that we usually do, at least not for me. She's come to me in a few dreams in the last 5 years. She's given me little signs that she's definitely around. She'll send me music, she'll send me little creatures and things like that. But I don't channel her. I wish I was able to. I've had her come through with another medium before on a whim, scrolling through my TikTok one night, and I was just listening to a live stream, and all the stuff he was naming off, he was trying to figure out who he was connecting for, was stuff that made sense for me with my mom. And so I was like, I think that's for me. So we did a live, and crazy enough, it was like I needed that at that exact time. And she finds ways to come through. That was my mom. That was totally her. She would find a way. And she was really determined about something, like a pit bull with a bone. She was like, you're going to get the message when you need it. So I know she's around and I don't worry about that part of it, but I don't want to always be sad when I think about her. So I'm trying to do things that change that. So again, a pivotal moment, making a conscious choice to go in a different direction. June makes me sad. Her birthday is this month. She passed in this month. So it's like there's two anniversaries that are difficult for me in the month of June. So I'm trying to think of something that's positive. I try and stay busy, but I also get burnout, so I need downtime. So I'm trying to find like the happy medium and the balance there. I also am deciding that I'm going to start taking really good care of my body because my body's not doing so good. So it's doing much better in like the last 2 weeks, but just conscious choices. And if you guys watched last week's episode, you'll understand exactly what we're talking about. So there's some sort of like significant event or significant change, a pivotal moment that's a canon event. What was that in your life? Did you have just one? I'd be willing to bet you had multiple. Most of us do. I feel like that's what helps kind of keep us on track, keep us on course, or helps us to deviate and go in a different direction, right? Shift directions so that we can, sail through what we got to go through. And I feel like there's a lot of things in our life that will be changing, let's say in the next 6 months to a year, globally, on a global scale, right? We see all the crazy things that are happening in the world. I personally don't usually watch the news anymore for any reason. I just don't. There's so much gross shit out there in the world. I don't want to see the death and destruction. I know it's there. I just don't need to inundate myself with it any longer. I can read an article and not be near as affected by it as I am if I have to see video of it. So I try really hard to guard my own energy and guard my mind from things that will kind of cause problems or destroy me later. So Do those things. Spend time out in nature, ground your energy, take a walk, go sit in the sunshine, you know, play with your pets if you've got pets, go visit loved ones that you haven't seen in a while. Make the effort because, again, you only get one go round in your meat suit and then you got to go back for recycling to come back and decide if you want to. So I feel like it's really an important lesson for us to make changes. What's working in your life and what's not? Take stock of that. Pros and cons list. Figure out what you need to let go of and what you want to keep. It's like when you energetically clean out your closet. There's only so much room, right? You can't just keep adding new stuff, adding new stuff, adding new stuff, and eventually it's too full. Something's got to give or the dang thing's going to break. So I feel like right now, Spirit wants us to energetically clean out our closet. So there's some things that are going to be removed from your life, right? We're ascending into the 5D frequency, which means that we're going towards a whole new direction. Sight unseen. We've never been here before. No one on this planet in ever has ever been to the 5D. You signed up for this when you incarnated here. You were meant to be part of this shift. So you're part of a global pivot. Isn't that exciting? What is going to be your story that's left behind? What is going to be your legacy that is told about for generations to come? What was your part in the global shift? Because think about it, the 5D is just that, it's a global shift. Things are splitting apart. The old ways of doing things are no longer working. We have to go in a new direction. And so, energetically, all of us have to vibe at a certain level to make it to that point. So, what are you changing in your life to make that mark? What are you changing to leave your mark on the world for the positive? So, I'm going to leave you with one question. What everyday incidents can be seen as shaping someone's personal growth? What everyday thing in your life is shaping you into some personal growth? That's your food for thought this weekend. Have a wonderful day.